All right, thank you for checking out another episode of Wine Unknown. I'm your host, Brian Fennell, also known as Bry Guy, and I have another winemaking region on the East Coast that I would love to highlight. And I do apologize. I should have started it off this way because it is my hometown. It's my hometown area. I should have represented, but what I do? No, I highlighted New York before I did Pennsylvania. Talk about a party foul. Jeez. And hopefully all my local Philadelphians and Pennsylvanians can forgive me. That was a big mistake on my part as a true Pennsylvanian or Philadelphian. I should never have ever started things off highlighting New York. Jeez. But New York is so great. I love it. I love it. But we're going to have fun with this episode because I'm pretty sure these are a bunch of great varietals and wines you've never heard of. So hopefully you have some coffee. Hopefully you have a glass of wine in front of you and let's just enjoy the show. All right? Cool. Cheers. So let's start it off with this, right? Pennsylvania has been a well-developed wine making region for decades. It's been so long since I don't even know, like well beyond before I was born. People were planting vineyards and just going through the motions of trying to figure it out what's going to work. But let me tell you why Pennsylvania works really well. So it's in a valley, so it's protected by nothing but mountains and rolling hills. It's kind of just like if you can imagine what Italy looks like, more so like Tuscany with rolling hills, and there's just nothing but trees all around or greenery. And it's nice and cool during the winters and during the summers. It can get really hot, but then it's always protected because it has just enough sunshine to have the grapes or whatever you're growing ripen. But also, it's still pretty cool to get the level of acidity you would like for your wines to have or grapes to have. So it can create a perfect balance. Soils are a little bit different. Soils are rough in America just all around because people haven't been having the best organic practices. But we'll save that for a later date. I'm always saying we'll save something for a later date, right? But who cares? All right, so Pennsylvania is now being backed by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for its wine trail because they're starting to understand how important this is as a tourism or a tourist attraction. So now they're starting to develop it and work with a lot of local vineyards, wineries, some restaurateurs, some sommeliers, just wine professionals in general on making this a great thing. And I think that's fantastic. I love that because it just creates more awareness. Just like in a previous episode, if you were listening to the Finger Lakes, it's kind of similar to that, how they have the alliance and their agenda is just putting New York, Finger Lakes on a map. That's kind of a similar thing that's happening here in Pennsylvania, and it's just beautiful. It's just great. So, some of the grapes that I want to highlight, or some of the wines that I want to highlight, are I'm going to do three, maybe four, just because I don't think you've ever heard of these grape varietals or types of wines, and majority of them are hybrids. Those just crossbreedings to create something new. I don't know, but yeah, but no matter what, they still create fantastic wines that's now being like really cultivated in Pennsylvania and is becoming a real fingerprint in its style and helping it create its identity. Because as you look on all the shelves, you're just going to see the same things. You're going to see Cabernet Sauvignon. You're going to see Merlot. You're going to see Pinot Noir. You're going to see Sauvignon Blanc. You're going to see these because these are the popular wines and grape varietals that everybody knows. So they're going to sell. So when you're thinking of native, it's kind of different because it's kind of just like it's our own thing. And if everybody isn't behind it or on the same agenda, you can lose out on what's been growing in the area and just replant that and just to put the money grab up for the cabs, for whatever people are buying, which I get it. Business wise, it makes sense. You know, it's like we got to sell. We want to sell. We want to do business. And one of the grape varietals that I want to talk about is it's a hybrid. It's Bacho Noir. Now, this is originally a French grape varietal. And it's really popular in Eastern USA and in like Canada. Now, what makes this so great is that it's this like, it produces this fantastic wine that's soft, really fruit forward. It's soft in texture and it's really fruit forward. It's a fruity type of wine you're going to get. But not only that, it's also going to have like this smoky taste to it, which is always great, unless it's too smoky. Like a lot of the wines from the California wildfire has smoke taint. Now that's too much smoke because now you're getting all of that and it's kind of masking all of the nice fruit flavors, the earthiness. It's masking all of that and it's only giving you smoke. So this isn't like that. This is like a hint of smoke when it's like, ooh, I kind of get like grilled barbecue or something like that. Something of that nature is where you're hinting at when you're getting this style of wine. And that's natural for this. So it's already balanced within the grape. So when you're making the wine, you're not adding anything to it. It's just going to balance itself out. And I think that's fantastic. And I've actually had a Bacho Noir when I was doing, where was I? I can't remember where I was. It was so long ago. I was doing research because I wanted to have my own label at one point when I was trying to make my own wine and I was going to use grapes before I decided, no, let me do something different with like pineapples and all these other kind of fruits. So I was just tasting. I was just trying to buy them in bulk. So I was just going around, just tasting them and falling in love with that I found something gold that not too many people know of or are aware of. And this red grape was so fantastic that I wish more people would just embrace it because it's kind of similar to something like a Pinot Noir from Burgundy, but you won't have the same price point as a wine from Burgundy, and you don't have to sit there and wait until it ages 50 decades. This is something that's just going to give you that essence without the price tag of a Pinot Noir from Burgundy from back when, or a Grand Cru or anything like that. This is giving you a really good flavor profile turnout. Quality is still something that's totally different. Now, quality, you're going to get all kinds of different quality spectrums from this type of grape and this wine, depending on who the winemaker is, if they're acclimated with trying to balance this, doing the best they can, because this isn't one of the top priority grape varietals that people are looking for. So it can kind of you can find various just like versions of it that's great and that's not so great. So you have to be aware of that. And this wine can be anywhere from dry to sweet. Usually you want kind of like an off dry because you kind of want a hint of sweetness, definitely balance out the smokiness that you're going to get from the grape or from the wine. So, but each winemaker has their own recipe that they're trying to follow, their own philosophy. So hopefully this thing's hit the market more and more for people. And hopefully like Pennsylvania really leans into this and accepts it and just like pushes it forward as their own like love child because it's fantastic. So if you ever can come across a Bacho Noir, just try it. Just try it. It's going to be, we're talking around probably like $15 a bottle just for you to have this experience. And if you're on the wine trail, just try them from every winery that you go to. Just try it. All right. That's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. I kind of went on a little tangent because it's an amazing style of wine. I still want to stay in the red wine realm. So something else is a Chambertin. I know. Say that. Say it. It's a little bit much, but this is another red wine. Now, this one is a little bit darker and it's a little bit more concentrated with fruit flavors. That's kind of almost like a jelly or jam spread when you're getting such concentrated like flavors. Think of, when I'm saying concentrated, think of biting into like a prune, how rich and lush that that sensation is, the texture, all of that is kind of like chewy. This wine gives you that, and it is so good. Now, this is another hybrid style of grape or wine, and you're going to get stuff like black cherries, blackberries, some spice, and it could have a hint of like gaminess to it, depending on how the winemaker wants to cultivate this grape or this style of wine. But when I tell you that this is another dark, rich wine, if you ever had a Blaufränkisch, it's like in that lane, and which is kind of similar towards like a really youthful Pinot Noir or a really youthful style of wine of a red blend where it's using Petit Syrah and Pinot Noir and maybe a little bit of Shiraz in there as well. It's kind of a red blend like that, but like I said, it won't have the same price point that a red blend of that magnitude would have. So something with this, you're thinking just like a cheese and meat board. You know, you want that cured meat, that saltiness. You want like the blue cheese kind of blocks. This is a wine for that. It's so great. It's so great. And I think it's really approachable to I guess you say the intro to red wine drinkers, because it's not as tannic. It doesn't have so much of that bitterness as it does fruitiness. So I think this is definitely a home run. I am starting to see a lot more of Chambertin in the Philadelphia market as far as bars and restaurants goes, and that's all great. That's all great. And they even have it on tap for keg. So that's amazing because more people should try it because it's something different. Outside of that, now we move to a rosé. Now, this is really fantastic. So this is Catawba, and this style of wine is closer towards like a white Zinfandel. I know, but it's not like the, what brand could you think of? Whatever box wine that is. I can't think of it right now, but it's not like that white Zinfandel or blush. Although it does look that way, it's going to be a lot sweeter. So this is what I would consider a sweet rosé. And when people are looking for sweet rosé, I'd rather take them to this rather than any of the other brands of sweet rosés you could think about, because one, it's at an affordable price and it actually is going to be sweet, and because the wine itself is naturally sweet. I have not found a dry Catawba yet. I have not found one yet. I only found them sweet, and that's just what it is, you know. Like I'm going to keep on saying, like quality can always get better, and it will as more and more winemakers start to lean into Pennsylvania wines. It's just like, let's create our own style. Now, the one thing about all of these types of wines and these grape varietals is something that they get hit for is they have this kind of like foxy aroma. Foxy, just think like that, just animal like fur. And it could deter a lot of people. But if you can get past that, like if you can get past that, it's quite all right, you know? But like, yes, if you can get past that, it's fantastic. They're fantastic wines. Now, that's just like, that's exactly what this wine is going to smell like because it's out in the wilderness. This we're talking about like if you've ever been in like the open field and it's just animals around, the soil is going to absorb that. So the vines absorb it. And then so they get kind of embedded in the grapes. And I think that's something that's so beautiful because now you're actually tasting terroir or agriculture here in Pennsylvania. Because when you think of Pennsylvania, you kind of think of cities, so you think about a lot of pollution. But no, Pennsylvania as a whole isn't like that. It's more grassland than anything. So you see a lot more wild animals in middle Pennsylvania and such and such. But yeah, so these are all great wines. I think that a lot of people should try. Like I was fortunate enough to be a judge at the for PA wines a few years ago and blind tasting all of them side by side. There was so much wine. A lot of it was all right. Very small amount was actually like outstanding, and there were a lot that just weren't good. you know but after year, you just taste them and they get better and better. Each vintage. Oh, okay. So it's now there are a lot of wineries that's finding their stride and they're just going. Like Allegro is one that has a fantastic Chamberson. Fantastic one. William Hill is another one. There are so many. Galen, Vineyards is another one. Like there are a lot. I'm just rambling on right now because there are just so many great wineries that can get overlooked, but a lot of them are starting to gain some great press, and I'm excited for it. And hopefully that you are excited now that you're aware of some of the great varietals and types of wines that Pennsylvania is producing. That's all I gotta say for real about it. I mean, I can go a lot more, but I think we're at a safe point where I gave you a little bit of information, nothing to overwhelm you, and this is a good amount of time, right? Right? Uh, Hopefully it is. We can always go back because I love to talk about this stuff. You can always hit me on fan mail, send me a message. You can follow me on Instagram at YoBrightGuy. You can always go to the website, YoBrightGuy.com, and check out my reviews, check out some articles, listen to more episodes of the podcast. Yeah, man, it's just, everything is just growing and it's so good. It's so good. All right. Well, that's just that. Once again, thank you for checking out this episode of Wine Unknown. I love to hear from you. Hopefully you're having a good time on your wine journey and you're becoming a whole lot more open-minded and willing to try new things that you've never heard, being adventurous. That's the best part of the journey, I tell you. All right. Cheers. Until next time. See ya.